In the shadowy depths of Gwalior, a story unfolds, one that wraps around the heart like a vice, squeezing until it bleeds. Madhubala, a 23-year-old receptionist, had forged a life in the bustling streets of Delhi, far from her roots. Yet Gwalior tugged at her soul, a haunting reminder of a childhood marred by absence. 15 long years had passed, each one steeped in yearning for a father who remained a ghost in her memories, never once stepping into her life despite her mother's efforts to keep them apart. On an eerie day, when the sun hung low and shadows stretched ominously, Madhubala resolved to break the chains of her solitude. With her mother and sister away, she seized the opportunity to journey back to Gwalior, her heart racing with the thrill of surprise. But as she crossed the threshold of her childhood home, an unsettling chill gripped the air. Her mother's face, pale and drawn, contorted in dread as if she had seen a spectre. "Madhubala," her mother gasped, eyes wide with terror. "You shouldn't be here." Confusion twisted within Madhubala. "I've come to see Papa. I won't leave without him." The night wrapped around them, thick and suffocating. But her father was nowhere to be found. His phone went unanswered, like a void that echoed her despair. Her mother's frantic pleas transformed into a chorus of dread, urging Madhubala to retreat back to the safety of Delhi. Heartache seeped into her bones, whispering doubts that perhaps her father wished to remain a phantom in her life. Reluctantly, she turned toward the door, the weight of abandonment pulling her down. Just then, a wave of dizziness crashed over her, and she crumpled to the ground, consciousness slipping away into the abyss. In the realm of dreams, a different reality unfolded. Madhubala found herself entwined in a labyrinth within the Gwalior fort, where shadows danced and whispered secrets. There her father stumbled, a man lost in a maze of despair, desperately searching for her. As he ascended to the fort's roof, his eyes locked onto a figure, a girl who mirrored the essence of Madhubala. But as he drew closer, the visage morphed, revealing a grotesque woman, her head a haunting echo of what once was. The sight was enough to shatter his sanity, and in that moment of realization he plummeted off the edge, spiraling into an abyss of grief. "Mama!" Madhubala screamed, her voice a haunting cry that reverberated through the night. As both father and daughter jolted awake, morning light seeped through the curtains. But joy was eclipsed by a gathering storm. The air thickened with sorrow as a crowd huddled outside their home, whispers carrying the weight of tragedy. Madhubala's mother stood there, eyes hollow and trembling, her words slicing through the air like a cold blade. "Your father, he jumped from the fort last night." In that moment, reality splintered. Madhubala's heart shattered, echoing the loss of a father she had longed to know, a bond severed by the cruel hands of fate. The walls of her childhood home closed in, and the shadows that lingered became her only companions, a chilling reminder of the horrors that dwell within the heart, a relentless, haunting melody of what could have been. As the chilling words sank into Madhulika's heart, an icy despair enveloped her, shattering her world into 1,000 jagged pieces. Once the echoes of familiar footsteps faded, she pulled her mother aside, urgency threading through her voice as she recounted the haunting dreams that had plagued her nights. What her mother revealed next sent tremors of dread coursing through Madhulika's veins, a dark secret buried in the shadows of their family's past. 15 years prior, when innocence still colored her cheeks, Madhulika had been taken to the formidable Gwalior fort. On that fateful day, the fort was a thrumming hive of tourists, a bustling maze from which she would soon become irrevocably lost. In the depths of that ancient palace, she found herself trapped on a lower floor, its walls steeped in the whispers of history. Legends whispered of spirits, those of kings and queens, cruelly robbed of their lives by the Mughals, and the British haunting that very place, and the fear in her parents' eyes had mirrored the sinister tales. Desperate, they alerted the guards, who began a frantic search for the missing child. But amidst the chaos, a haunting melody drifted through the air, wrapping around Madhulika like a shroud. Drawn to the sound, she ventured deeper into the darkness, her small heart racing with curiosity and dread. As she moved, an eerie shadow flitted past her, ethereal and fleeting. She called out, but it dissolved into the air, leaving behind a chilling emptiness. Then came the unmistakable sensation of another presence lurking behind her. Heart-pounding, Madhulika turned, and before her stood a woman draped in a flowing white lehenga, her visage a macabre mask of horror. Half of her face was grotesquely absent, revealing a gaping void teeming with writhing insects. Madhulika's scream echoed like a banshee's wail, raw and pure as she bolted into a nearby room, slamming the door shut and locking it tight against the terror. But the horror was far from over. A scratching sound pierced the silence, like nails on chalkboard, and there in the corner, the same woman crouched, her skeletal fingers tracing mantras onto the wall with a flourish of white powder. Madhulika, both terrified and entranced, could not tear her gaze away. The woman's head slowly turned, her empty stare boring into Madhulika's very soul as she approached, an otherworldly grace guiding her movements. In a moment that stretched into eternity, the spectre sprinkled the powder onto Madhulika's forehead. Darkness clouded her vision, and as the world around her blurred, she succumbed to a heavy, suffocating slumber. When dawn broke, it cast an unsettling glow over the scene. Madhulika lay motionless at the very spot where her father had once leapt in despair. No breath escaped her lips, no flutter of eyelids. She had slipped into an abyss that no doctor could penetrate. Though her chest rose and fell with the rhythm of life, her eyes remained sealed, locked away in the depths of an unfathomable coma. Frantic and desperate, her parents sought the wisdom of many healers, yet none could unravel the sinister mystery of her condition. It was then that a priest arrived, his presence heavy with foreboding. As he surveyed Madhulika's still form, he spoke with a voice steeped in dread, declaring that a curse had befallen her. A vengeful spirit of a maid, slain within the palace walls, had latched onto her life, intent on exacting revenge. He warned of a demon taking residence within her, a dark entity that would slowly siphon away her existence. Madhulika's father, a man whose love knew no bounds, was resolute. He would traverse the darkest paths and confront the most malevolent forces, determined to reclaim his daughter from the clutches of the unknown. The battle for Madhulika's soul had only just begun, and the shadows of Gwalior Fort were stirring, awakened by the echoes of the past. In the dim light of dusk, shadows crept across the walls of a small home, where desperation clung to the air like a suffocating fog. The family was torn, their hearts heavy with the weight of an unspeakable horror that had invaded their lives. Madhu, their beloved daughter, was ensnared by a sinister presence, an evil spirit that whispered dark promises in her ears, twisting her innocence into something monstrous. In their search for salvation, they turned to a priest, a man cloaked in mystery and ancient knowledge. His voice trembled as he spoke of a grim solution. To save Madhu, one must willingly become a vessel for the malevolent spirit. The price was steep, a life must be offered, a soul bound to serve the darkness that threatened to consume their child. Madhu's father, driven by love and desperation, stepped forward, a flicker of resolve igniting in his eyes. "I will bear the burden," he declared. "No harm shall come to my daughter." The night of the ritual arrived, an atmosphere thick with dread and incense. The priest's chants spiraled through the air, weaving a tapestry of ancient rites. Madhu sat between her parents, her innocence shattered as the transformation began. When she opened her eyes, they glowed a sinister crimson, a reflection of the chaos within. She spat venomous words at the priest, her voice twisted and unrecognizable, a puppet of the spirit's fury. With a swift incantation, the priest hurled a shower of red chili powder at her, the air crackling with energy. Madhu collapsed, her body limp, and in that moment, her father too succumbed to the darkness, his consciousness slipping away. When Madhu awakened, the storm within her had calmed, but the cost was high. The priest, with a heavy heart, warned her mother that they must flee Gwalior, for her husband was now a mere servant to the spirit, trapped in a web of despair. As they left, the curse took root in her father's life. He spiraled into illness, losing everything: his job, his health, his very essence. The weight of sacrifice hung heavy in the air, an unbroken bond of love and duty. When Madhu returned, it was to a Gwalior steeped in sorrow. The spirit, hungry and vengeful, sought her life, but her father, in a final act of love, surrendered his own to protect her. Madhu wept as her mother recounted the tragic tale, her heart breaking under the truth of her father's sacrifice. "He loved you fiercely," her mother whispered, cocooning her in warmth against the encroaching chill of despair. Yet they both knew that Gwalior held its secrets tightly, and the shadows would always linger. Together they left the haunted remnants of their past, their footsteps echoing in the empty streets. Yet even now, whispers of Gwalior Fort abound, tales of souls leaping into the void, drawn by the spirit's insatiable hunger. Is it truly haunted, or just a tapestry of urban legend woven with threads of tragedy?